Okay, next matchup coming up. We've got Adrian Serrano from Milwaukee, Wisconsin versus Wald Bloise from Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Nice look at Wald Bloise, 6 foot, 184 pounds. His professional debut, a student again of Marco U.S.A. and a protege of U.S.A. Valley Tudo. He's training out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Trains with Rodrigo Minotauro Nogueira, who we'll see later on tonight. He also trains with Rodrigo U.S.A. So he's got a good training camp, and he's a very accomplished striker, and interesting to see what comes out of this.
Well, we saw how well-seasoned it looked like Rodrigo U.S.A., who was making his pro debut, did. I expect the same out of Wald. Marco seems to have a way of making guys in the pro debut look good. He's got strong leg kicks, great knee attack, and fast hands. No big surprises coming from Marco U.S.A.
I tell you, Stephen, he's very good on the ground as well.
And here we have Adrian Serrano, Extreme Challenge middleweight champion. He's also an IVC, International Valley Judo veteran. He's from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 5'7", 201 pounds. Look at that record, 28 wins, 7 losses, and 2 draws. That's a lot of experience, Tim.
Yes, it is. I've had the opportunity to watch Adrian in the past in some of the Midwest events, and he's always a gamed opponent, comes ready to fight, and he's always in store for a battle.
I tell you, Tim, and follow to what you just said, I've had the opportunity to watch Adrian fight a few times as well, and he usually brings the fight to the fighter.
Yes, yes, he does. He does. He enjoys fighting very much, and I'm looking forward to an exciting match between these two opponents.
And he fights a lot, too. I saw Adrian fight in Brazil in one of the IVC tournaments, and he was rough. And he's in the ring. And now let's throw it up. He's got experience, ground fighting. He controls the pace. He's a striker. And now let's go to the tail of the tape. Serrano is 36 years old, 5'7", 201 pounds, with a 69-inch reach. Where Bloise is 24 years old, 12 years younger, at 6 feet tall, 184 pounds, with a 69-inch reach. How's that weight going to make a factor, Wade? Let's throw it up to T.J. Thompson in the ring for the introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we move on, fighter to my left in the white trunks trimmed in black, making his pro fighting debut from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, please welcome Wald Bloise. Ladies and gentlemen, his opponent tonight, fighting in the black trunks trimmed in white, a pro fighting record of 26 wins and 6 losses, from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Adrian Serrano.
And the referee in the match is our own Kip Kohler.
Well, I tell you, Adrian Serrano definitely brings the experience into this fight. See what Wald Bloise does in his pro debut.
Well, he's coming out sharp. He's throwing some punches there. He's just like laying down leather on Serrano here. Low kick, and Serrano answers back with the left hand. Bloise is really aggressive with that left jab.
He's an accomplished striker, and we talked to him before the fight, as you all know, Stephen, and I think his game plan is to keep this on the stand-up.
I think so too. Adrian is good on the ground. I think we're going to see a kickboxing match this time.
Adrian's definitely within that punching range right there, and I believe he needs to keep his left hand and his right hand a little higher.
High kick attempt by Wald, and he slipped and fell, falling back into the guard, loose guard. Adrian is now working in his ground game.
inside guard work there by Wald Bloise. I tell you, that's a technique employed by many of the U.S. Valley Judo fighters, looking to elevate, create some space, and perhaps bring themselves out of there or throw a punch from the ground.
Nice little right hand by Adrian Serrano, and Wald Bloise pops back up. Stand-up fight again. Nice left hand by Serrano. Serrano's got a good timing on that left hand. Nice right hand by Serrano. Serrano's coming in tough right now. He wants to stand up. He wants to go to war.
Tim, as we talked about before the fight, Serrano seems to be bringing it to Wald Bloise.
Nice right hand by Serrano. Serrano's really putting it to Wald Bloise right here.
Yes, Wade, actually he does. I believe he understands that he has a very gamed opponent and Wald Bloise in front of him. You know, a young kid looking to establish himself, and you know, Adrian Serrano wants to take the fight to him, you know, make him fight his pace. There we see him connect with another left and a right by Serrano.
I would have to say Serrano's definitely getting the best of the stand-up war. Oh, almost caught him with that knee to the head. It was like a half knee, half kick. Serrano's stalking him at this point.
Nice left hand there.
Serrano is stalking him at this point. Wald does seem to keep his composure a little bit, trying to time that right hand over Serrano's left. Oh, got the leg. Nice little trip there by Wald Bloise.
Beautiful takedown.
Trap the leg.
There we see a kick from the bottom. Excuse me, Steven.
Now, oh, nice right roundhouse kick to the head. Wald Bloise in control, pounding away. Serrano may be in a little bit of trouble here. That was a solid kick. The foot went right upside Serrano's head.
Wald Bloise goes to the full mount here. See if he's able to make this effective.
I'm not sure if Adrian Serrano has enough ground skills to be able to change this position.
We got the elbows going on here by Wald Bloise.
Serrano doing a nice job of trying to keep Bloise down on him. He's just not been very effective at it so far.
Wald has got to make sure not to burn himself out with the striking game, so he's taking a little bit of a break. Serrano is too.
30 seconds, guys. Keep working.
Well, Wald Bloise just turned that right around. He was taking a little bit of a beating on his feet, but Serrano popping back up, going into a Muay Thai clinch. Wald throwing the knee up to the center, right to the solar plexus. Looks like Adrian's getting a little bit winded here. And there we are at the end of round 2. Guys, that was an action-packed round.
Active first round by both fighters. I tell you, Serrano really came out, and as we touched on, Stephen, he took the fight to the inexperienced Wald Bloise. Bloise was able to turn the tides there with that mount, but with that little time left in the round, he just wasn't able to establish himself.
You're absolutely right, Wade. They were exchanging a lot of leather throughout that round.
And here they are. Nice exchange here. Adrian throws that kick. Wald traps it and trips the leg and gets into the guard of Adrian Serrano. And Serrano from the bottom. Wald Bloise cracks that right roundhouse kick and then drops the right hand a couple times on Adrian Serrano, who covers up and goes for defense on the ground.
I tell you, Tim, it looked as though, maybe it's in the experience of Wald Bloise so far, but it looked as though he was telegraphing his punches, and Adrian Serrano was just able to set up and counter before he got him off.
Yes, actually, that's a very good point. I was actually able to, you know, kind of see sometimes he would telegraph some of those punches, sometimes with the shoulders, and you know, try to load up a little bit as we're seeing here. Good
nice left hand by Wald Bloise. Both men have their hands down. In Thai boxing, you really want to keep your hands up when you're in a stand-up war.
You see some welts on the back of Adrian Serrano's left leg from the leg kicks of Bloise.
Yeah.
There we see a single leg defense by Serrano, trying to create some space and pull the leg back as he pushes away.
I tell you, Bloise does not want to stay in this position, do you think, Tim?
No, not at all. You know, there's a lot of opportunity here for Serrano to create the distance and throw the left uppercut as well as the knees.
Not only that, but Serrano, all he has to do is relax and let Bloise run out of energy in that position. Very taxing position.
Wald Bloise is actually using the more energy at this point. His back is to the cage, and this is an exactly where he would like to be. So Serrano is at this point just fighting patiently, keeping him pinched up against the cage, able to work as we see the body blows in the knees.
Those short chopping knees to the body don't do a great deal of damage, but they do add up later on in the fight. They take away the stamina of the fighter.
All right, stop, guys, stop. Break apart, back to quick.
As you said, Stephen, it's certainly not going to be a knockout from those short punches, but it's a battle of attrition and wear on the body as the fight goes on.
Now, Adrian has got to keep his hands up because he's coming in here wide open. Oh, spinning back fist. And Adrian just goes right in for the squeeze down. Adrian on top, clean side mount.
Bloise has got to be careful here.
Serrano has a very good key lock from this side mount position. He's won numerous matches with his key lock, so look for him to hunt for that.
Looks like Wald is trying to stand back up here. Curl out.
Looked momentarily as though Serrano was going to attempt the guillotine. Bloise has got to cover his head here.
Now there is a weight differential, Wade. What does that play?
You know, as the fight goes on, the weight can tend to wear on a fighter. I think initially in a fight, it has less effect, but as the fight goes on, you tend to support the weight as we look at a nice left knee by Serrano to the head of Bloise.
You know, Bloise is not blocking those knees. He's trying to hold that knee close. That's a bad move. He's got to put his arm in front of his head to block it. Oh, good right hand by Serrano. Serrano's putting a beating on him here now. Bloise is in a little bit of trouble on the bottom, and I expect, oh, that right knee again, that's a dangerous weapon. Serrano's got complete control right here. Side mount, he's hammering away. I think Bloise is in trouble here. He's got a bloody nose.
And there's the key lock that you were talking about, Tim.
Stop.
He tapped him out. Wald Bloise has tapped out Adrian Serrano. Big-time victory. He pretty much dominated the fight.
I'd have to agree with you, Stephen. It was a fight that Adrian Serrano came out and took to Wald Bloise, established his will, got the takedown, passed the guard, and looked for that key lock, which Tim Stamper pointed out early.
I think the weight did play a factor, but Serrano just came right in there with no respect for the punching ability of Wald Bloise and just walked right into him. And here we go to T.J. Thompson for the verdict.
Official time, 2 minutes, 57 seconds, round number 2. Tap out submission, the winner, Adrian Serrano.
2:57 in round 2, key lock, just like you said, Tim.
Well, Stephen, if there's one thing, Tim knows his fighters.
Yeah, that's right. I think that this was the most action-packed fight so far.
It was a great fight. Crowd loved it.
It's good to see Adrian back in the winner's circle. Nice fight. A lot of good stand-up in that one. A lot of good strikes. And let's go to our next fight. Big Brad Kohler from St. Paul, Minnesota versus from Rio de Janeiro, Renato Babalu. That's a tremendous matchup right there. Coming into the ring, into our octagon. Here he is. And with John Ferretti in his corner, Brad Kohler, 5'8", 225.
And this is a put-together individual, Stephen.
Yeah, he's put together. Brad Kohler can bench press 600 pounds. He's incredible strength. Curls 300 pounds. He's a heavy hitter, and he's a great wrestler. And he will be facing from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, a Marco Ruas prodigy, Renato Babalu. Babalu is 24 years old. He's 6'1", and he's an outstanding record of 12 wins and no losses. 230 pounds. Great takedowns, submissions, and being a Marco Ruas student, he's got good stand-up.
I tell you, Stephen, he's also a member of the...
Now let's go to the tail of the tape. Kohler, 35 years old, 5'8", 225 pounds, 69-inch reach. Babalu, 11 years younger at 24, 6'1", 230 pounds, 76-inch reach. This is going to be a great one. I've been waiting for this fight. Okay, to T.J. Thompson in the ring.
Ladies and gentlemen, at the Forum in Rome, Georgia, are you ready for the big boys? The fighter to my left, in the black trunks trimmed and white with the full contact fighter logo on him, from Minneapolis, Minnesota, professional fighting record of 7 wins and 3 losses. Please welcome Brad Kohler. And ladies and gentlemen, his opponent, also in the black trunks trimmed in white, brings a professional fighting record of 12 wins against 0 losses. He's from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Please welcome Renato Babalu. On Kim's command.
And he's right. A true international matchup. A top Brazilian against a top American.
Look for Brad Kohler to want to throw his moneymaker, his overhand right. He likes that.
I think Babalu knows that. I think Babalu's going to stay loose and move around. Marco has had 2 fighters fight previous in this event and had mixed results. Babalu is a very experienced fighter. International Vale Tudo experience and rings bracket winner.
I'd say it's an interesting matchup from a grappling standpoint. We all know that Brad Kohler has a heavy right hand, but he's an accomplished wrestler. Renato Babalu is a Brazilian national member, or Brazilian wrestling team national member, and I believe he may represent the Olympics this year, if I heard correctly, for Brazil in wrestling.
There's that right hand. Brad shoots in for the takedown. Renato goes for a knee. Energy here. I think what Babalu has to do is take this fight in late to see if he can get Brad Kohler tired. Because Brad Kohler's got a burst of energy coming in these first round or 2 that's just... Oh, nice knee to the head by Babalu. That'll keep him honest. There's another one.
Well, I tell you, Stephen, as we've seen before, whether Brad Kohler wins or loses, he's an exciting fighter. The crowd loves this guy.
He really is. He predicted punishments in the pre-fight interview.
He's an excellent showman.
Yes, he is. A little bit of that talk goes a long way with the audience. That looked like it might have been a groin shot. Got to be careful with those knees to the body. Babalu has got the takedown neutralizing. He's chopping away with the knees. These will add up after a while. Oh, to the head again.
Is that the 3rd or 4th, Stephen? That's 3 or 4 knees right to the head by Renato Babalu.
That was about 3 good ones. Now they're not real solid because he has to be careful with the takedown. They're going to chop away and give Brad a little bit of a headache. Brad tries to unleash that right hand. Brad has knocked at least one man unconscious with that right hand. So Babalu knows this and wants to be really careful. I expect Babalu to throw the low kick here.
Brad Kohler is a very, very punishing fighter. His strikes are very, very effective. He knocked Steve Judson out in about 30 seconds, I believe it was, in UFC with just a stunning knockout that left Steve Judson unconscious.
Go for the high kick.
And Brad Kohler broke the ribs of a Japanese fighter in rings with a strike as well. So he packed some power behind those punches.
Kohler is really telegraphing his shoot here. I think that Renato, being the accomplished wrestler, in Brazil they call freestyle wrestling luta livre.
Yes.
He's going for that low kick. He's being very patient. He knows that this is a reasonably long fight of 3 5-minute rounds. So he's going to take his time.
That low kick by Babalu would be an indication for me if I was Brad Kohler to want to raise my left hand.
You're right, Tim. He's looking to take that right leg kick in, get him to drop that left hand, and looking for an overhand right to the head. definitely a setup.
They're playing the waiting game here. They both want the other to make the move so they can capitalize. Oh, go for the high kick, and he shoots. Let's see how good the defense is. Babalu's got great defense. Nice knee, beautiful knee.
Knee and sprawl.
Good sprawl. He's going to shoot, set up another knee. Babalu seems to have solved so far the mystery. A little bit of a headbutt there by accident, of course. He seems to have been able to solve the mystery of the Brad Kohler shoot.
Babalu is fighting a great fight. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yes, that's okay. That's okay, Tim. This is an exciting fight. We all have something to say about it.
Oh, yeah. So far, Babalu has controlled the action. I was getting it, working it into a tie clinch. Now in position. And there we go. That's the end of the first round.
I tell you, I think, Steven, that this may be 3 4-minute rounds. And I know it was slated for 5. There may have been some type of change in the lineup.
Well, it seemed to me that Babalu controlled pretty much every aspect of that first round.
You know, as we touched on earlier in the fight, Renato Babalu is a very accomplished wrestler. He's done a nice job of defending the takedown, which is one of Brad Kohler's main weapons. He's also done a nice job of keeping his hands up and keeping the right hand.
Okay, and here's the high kick attempt by Babalu, and Kohler shoots. Babalu underhooks and defends with a sprawl. Sprawls again with a turnaround. It goes for the knee, catches Kohler on the chin, little shot, and sprawls back into a good wrestling position. Sets up another knee. Brad Kohler gets up, knows the knee's coming.
And excuse me, Steven, I believe I heard Kip give a warning to Brad Kohler during in between rounds there.
Actually, I think that he was telling Kohler's corner that Babalu had been given a warning for that groin strike with the knee. So you're right, Tim. You're right, Tim.
Good call, guys. Round 2. Kohler versus Babalu.
Brad keeping his hands awfully low.
Now there's a low kick. Brad cannot absorb too many of those because it will take away his shooting ability. He needs those legs to shoot in for the takedown. Another low kick. You know,
you might see the low kicks setting up the high roundhouse a la Kona Silveira, Marie Smith, extreme fighting.
Or the right hand, like Babalu.
Great sprawl.
Whoa! That's it. A knockout.
That's it.
A knockout. Unbelievable.
Kicks are legal with an opponent wearing shoes.
Now that is Vale Tudo at its finest. Renato Babalu in a stunning knockout of Brad Kohler. When a fighter is down under these rules, you cannot pause and think. That's one of the problems with some of the other organizations. You'll go and there's no kicking when you're down. Look at Babalu. He's a wild man. Huge victory for Babalu.
Well, I tell you, we talked to Babalu prior to the fight. He's quite a personality. He's got a persona about him for sure, and he exudes confidence.
He's a young man with a future. I hope that Brad Kohler's okay. The soccer kick is one of the most deadly kicks in Brazil in the no rules fighting. The Vale Tudos down there. When the opponent is down, if they do not cover up, it's as if their head is a golf ball on a tee waiting to get launched onto the fairway. Okay, here we go. There's the right hand. Kohler shoots. Babalu sprawls, sets it up, and boom. Oh, devastating kick.
Beautiful punt kick.
I tell you, this knockout actually, Steven, may have been set up by a straight left hand earlier in the round prior to this exchange. I think Kohler was already feeling the effects of a straight right hand followed up by a right hand that we saw on the replay. We did not see the straight left hand, but I think that's probably what set that knockup out.
A devastating kick knockout for Renato Babalu. He has arrived at World Extreme Fighting 8.
Brad Kohler sits up in the ring, and I tell you, he appears to be okay.
That's good.
I'm sure Babalu's going to go over and check on him. What a great show of sportsmanship.
And now, let's go to TJ Thompson for the official announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner, 59 seconds round number 2 by knockout from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Renato Babalu.
That's about as exciting as you can get. Kick to the head knockout. Okay, now we're gonna go up and get an interview with Renato Babalu in a moment. Babalu is just excited as heck. We're gonna go now to George Brazil at ringside.
Babalu, congratulations. You ought to be very happy to beat this huge man.
Yeah.
Tá contente, irmão?
Muito, muito. Tô fazendo a preparação junto com os meus técnicos. Muito boa. Acho que tem muito para mostrar ainda aí.
He's very happy with his performance and has a lot to show. Back to you, Stephen.
Okay, Renato Babalu. Oh, what a dangerous man he is. And let's go to our next fight. Alex Paz from Rio de Janeiro versus Big Bobby Hoffman from Centerville, Iowa. Alex Paz, Rio de Janeiro, pro debut, 6'4", 241. That's a big man. He's got Conan Silveira in his corner. So he's got some big guys to train with. Looks like we're going to have Big John McCarthy referee this one. His strengths are submission, conditioning, and because he's got Conan Silveira, among others, he's got world-class training partners.
Alex Paz is out of the Carlson Gracie camp in Brazil, so he definitely has some world-class training partners.
But he's fighting a tough guy right here. Bobby Hoffman, Centerville, Iowa, 6'2", 268, 11-2 record. You know, Bobby loves to fight. And I think Alex Paz is going to get a real test in this one.
Well, I tell you, we know that Bobby Hoffman is going to come out and bring this fight to him. In the pre-fight interview, Bobby Hoffman said he throws fish and he's throwing heavy ones here.
He was really animated in that pre-fight interview.
He's quite a character.
Yes, he is. A big man. His strengths are ground and pound, size, and attitude. And he's got a great attitude.
I tell you, I think it's a good idea to have Big John McCarthy.
Okay, here we go. Tail of the tape. Paz is 23 years old at 6'4", 241 pounds, 77.5-inch reach, where Hoffman is 33, 6'2", 268 with a 74-inch reach. These are two big men. You're right. And let's go up to T.J. Thompson for the formal introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next heavyweight bout will be repped by the official guest referee, Big John McCarthy. Ladies and gentlemen, the fighter on my left, wearing the white trunks trimmed in black, making his pro debut out of Miami, Florida, please welcome Alex Paz. Ladies and gentlemen, his opponent tonight, in the black trunks trimmed in white, 11 wins, 2 losses, out of Centerville, Iowa, please welcome Bobby Hoffman. On Big John's command.
Hoffman versus Paz. Look at Hoffman, he's intense.
Look at Bobby, or watch for Bobby, excuse me, to come at Alex like a freight train here.
Bobby just likes to rumble. gives away the takedown. Paz on top in the half guard.
I tell you what may play to Paz's benefit here is that Paz has some big training partners, including, as you touched on earlier, Conan Silveira.
Keep it working, gentlemen. Come on, let's go.
He's got some big guys to work with, and he's very well conditioned. Had the opportunity to roll with some of these guys earlier, and Paz is in great shape. But, you know, as you said, Hoffman's a brawler, and he's going to bring the fight to him whenever he can.
I think that Paz really wants to keep this fight down on the ground because Hoffman, he's got a big punch, and he said to me that he wants to fill the shoes of David Tank Abbott as the bad boy in the sport.
He's certainly got the attitude.
And don't, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, Wade.
Go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to mention, don't look for Bobby to tap prematurely or even early or even at all, because Bobby did take a fight against Rico Rodriguez in Super Brawl tournament and had his arm clearly exposed and did not tap.
Oh, nice kick. Goes with that high kick. And, whoa! Bobby returns fire with his own. Front kick, not going to do much. Paz trying to get him for a takedown. Hoffman going for the elbow to the back.
I'd say Bobby has a very good guillotine from here. Paz needs to be very careful.
Bobby's got to be careful with the knee. He's wide open for a right knee right here.
You're absolutely correct, Stephen.
I don't know that Paz has got any Muay Thai background, but the knee would be, oh, there's the stomp. Now that's got to add up. He returns fire with his own stomp. It's been tit for tat so far in this match.
I'd say a nice welt appearing on the left leg of Bobby Hoffman from the leg kick there.
That's a nasty welt.
Those take their toll, Stephen.
Come on, work it. Gotta work. I'm gonna go defensive. Let's go. Come on, work. Work it.
The referee will let the fighters hold the fence to a certain extent, but if they're just holding it unnecessarily, after a while, he will break them away from the fence.
As you said, Stephen, they got to make some progress. They just can't hold on to it and sit the fight out. Got to make some progress and work from there.
Hoffman needs for the fight to have some distance so he can drop that big right hand. Hoffman has been in a few fights on the street. He's told me he had 14 assault charges filed against him in his street fighting career. Right now, Hoffman is neutralizing the takedowns of Alex Paz. But there's the knee, not much on it.
It's been a neutralizing fight so far, Stephen. Paz being able to neutralize and close the distance to keep Hoffman from launching those heavy hands. And Hoffman defending the takedowns of Paz. So it's been a neutral fight so far. Although not lacking action, to say the least.
Come on, work it out. Let's go. Come on.
Bobby Hoffman should actually be pummeling at this point, swimming on the inside of Alex's arms to keep, well, as a matter of fact, he just did there, so.
You're right as pointed out, Tim.
Now it's a battle of knees here. The knee technique, as practiced in Muay Thai, has to be transformed into a different sort of technique when you go into mixed martial arts or NHB fighting, because if you just throw the knee, the fighter is standing on one leg and susceptible to be swept or tripped onto his back. So you have to use your hands under as opposed to over.
Stephen, for those who aren't familiar with Muay Thai, that's because Muay Thai does not involve takedowns. It's simply a standing sport. Dissimilar from boxing in many aspects, but similar as well. It's a standing fight. Kicks, strikes, knees, elbows, etc.
Yeah, so far this has been a standing fight, though. And he paused on that leg kick, but he didn't pause on that one.
Well, Bobby getting a little smarter, too. After taking a few of those leg kicks, he actually stepped back and let that one ride by.
Alex pulls guard, but Bobby almost gets into a half guard.
Stephen, I'd look for Bobby to rear up here and start landing some haymakers, or at least attempting to. This is the type of position that he likes to be in.
I don't know if he watched the George Pereira, Matt Hughes fight, but that's what he wants to do in this fight, is ground and pound right here. And here it goes. That's the end of the round, 5-minute rounds.
Scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds.
Good job. Good job.
Well, an interesting first round there, Stephen. What's your take on it, Tim?
Actually, you know, I believe Alex has his hands full. I believe Bobby has enough stand-up wrestling to pretty much avoid the takedown, and I think it would be smart for Bobby to fight with his back to the fence, actually, because that way, if he felt in trouble, he could back up close to the fence and grab the fence and try to help prevent from being taken down and be able to work at uppercuts and knees.
We talked to Bobby a little bit before the fight, and while he certainly has an interesting demeanor about him and an attitude, he did come out and say, as we go to a replay here.
And here they go, and here's a nice low kick. Well, he actually goes high and lands on the shoulder. It's not going to do a lot of damage, but it does score a point in the judge's eye. Hoffman returns fire with a low kick. And here we are up against the fence. And Alex tries for that takedown unsuccessfully. And back to round 2.
Good sprawl, good head control by Bobby.
That left knee, there's that knee.
Bobby using that freight train mentality here.
Tim, what I started to touch on is when we talked to Bobby Hoffman earlier, he said that he'd obtained a sponsor, and he actually had started training much more seriously. This is not a part-time occupation, but a full-time occupation for him now. So do you look to see his conditioning to be any better during this fight, or?
Yes, actually do. He's, you know, from after speaking with him, you know, he's taking this fight very seriously and looking forward to a lot more W's after this one as well.
So interesting development here. We've got Paz down and Hoffman kind of roughing him up a little bit. Back on their feet. This does favor Hoffman.
You guys are doing good. Keep it up.
Hoffman's going to drop that right hand at some point.
Nice right-handed attempt there, which was blocked by Alex Paz with both his hands up.
Good sprawl by Hoffman. Paz is down. Paz actually seems to be getting winded here.
I tell you, there's a touch of blood on the back of Bobby Hoffman's right leg there. I didn't see it cut open up, but obviously there's blood somewhere.
Bobby doing exactly what he should do at this point, passing the legs in between his and straddling.
You want out? You want out? Good, stop it right there.
Alex Paz has verbally submitted.
Okay, baby.
He's verbally submitted.
Bobby going over to the corner of Alex and saying some comments, and we see.
I tell you, I think what happened there was Bobby Hoffman came to the corner and issued a challenge to Kohler and Silveira. I think Kohler jumped up and said, "Don't worry, you'll get your turn when you earn it."
You okay, Alex?
Looks like Bobby's pretty revved up here. Alex is okay, but Bobby was really roughing him up. I mean, this is a brawler, and he knows how to really rough a guy up and in a brawling fashion.
You mentioned earlier, Wade, that you had the opportunity to, excuse me, I'm sorry, roll with Alex. Do you think Alex would have been able to escape that mount position with Bobby on top?
Official time.
Well, we'll go to TJ Thompson for the call.
39 seconds, round number 2. Winner by tap out submission, Bobby Hoffman.
Big bad Bobby Hoffman. Verbal tap out over Alex Paz. Okay, now he's over there with Kohler Silveira. I don't know what he's saying, but it seems to be a little bit of a, he said, you and me. Looks like he's saying, you and me, come on with it. It's a big Kohler Silveira. High five, Big John McCarthy. Bobby Hoffman. It's a good victory for him.
Todd Fredrickson.
Okay, here we go. And our next fight. Minotauro Nogueira from Fort Lauderdale, Florida versus Jeremy Horn from East Moline, Illinois.
Get a look at the Rodrigo Nogueira as he prepares to walk towards the ring. Sporting a Minotauro Jiu-Jitsu t-shirt from his academy in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He's accompanied to the ring by Conan Silveira, Alexander Davis, who's a fighter and manager of several of the Brazilian fighters, his twin brother, Rogério. And I tell you, at 4-0, this is an impressive fighter, this Minotauro Nogueira. He has excellent submissions on the ground. He proved that in rings. He's 6'3" to 6'4" tall, 230 pounds, 240 pounds, and his conditioning is unbelievable. This guy can go forever.
Well, his opponent had a great year last year. Jeremy Horn, one of the most active American mixed martial art, no-holds-barred fighters on the circuit today. East Moline, Illinois, 6'1", 219 pounds, 37-4-4. That's a record. That's a lot of fights.
This is a very special match between these two opponents, as well as to the people in the no-holds-barred industry.
A lot of people looking for the outcome of this fight, Tim. You're right.
A lot at stake here.
You get a rising star in Minotauro Nogueira taking on an experienced veteran.
And Jeremy's got great elbows, striking on the ground, lots of experience. Trains with Pat Miletich and a whole lot of other tough guys at that Extreme team. And let's go to the tail. Take Minotauro is 23 years old at 6'3", 242 pounds, 76.5 reach. And Horn is 24, 6'1", 219 pounds at 74.5 inch reach. And let's go up to our dapper announcer, TJ Thompson.
Ladies and gentlemen, World Extreme Fighting is proud to bring you one of the feature bouts of the evening. This will be for the Heavyweight Super Fight Championship. Fighting on my left in the black trunks. His professional fighting record is 4 wins and 0 losses. Fighting out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Please welcome Rodrigo Nogueira. And ladies and gentlemen, his opponent, fighting with the black trunks with the white tap-out logo. A professional fighting record of 37 wins, 4 losses, and 4 draws. Undefeated in his last 25 bouts. From East Moline, Illinois, please welcome Jeremy Horn. This bout will be refereed by Kohler.
And this is for the World Extreme Fighting Heavyweight
Super Fight Champion, Stephen.
Yeah, Super Fight Champion.
Nice belt displayed by our Hooters ring girl there.
Mark Coleman sitting cage side next to the belt.
Minotauro's coming up punching. He took a right hand, though. Horn's been in with some great fighters. He's been in with Frank Shamrock, Ebenezer Fontes Braga from Brazil. He's fought in rings. He is an Extreme Challenge champion.
I tell you, I do not think this is where Horn wants to be with a grappler the caliber of Minotauro. But I tell you, Horn is an accomplished fighter, and he's shown a great guard in the past. It's gonna be interesting to see how this ends up.
Oh, the up kick.
Minotauro will look to pass the guard here.
Two very, very crafty fighters.
And he does, only to have himself taken back into the half guard by Jeremy Horn. Jeremy Horn doing a nice job playing guard there.
There's a little bit of reality and a little bit of a joke with Minotauro. He was evidently hit by a truck when he was a young boy, but they say that the truck took the worst of the wear.
We've all heard all about it, let me tell you.
He's a shooting star for the Abu Dhabi tournament in the year 2000.
He's an excellent grappler.
Looks like he's a pretty decent striker when he was on his feet, too. He's aggressive, yet he's patient. I mean, both these men are working. This isn't just a stalemated thing where they're pulling guard, holding it. They're working here.
Horn doing very, very good at getting Minotauro back in his guard.
And he's keeping him honest with that up kick, because that thing, he's circling it around, keeping it away till Minotauro can't grab it. It's probably going to be hard for him to land that kick on the chin of the standing Minotauro. He tries a Sakuraba move.
Flying stomp. That's a new one for World Extreme. But that is a legal technique here in World Extreme fighting.
Mr. Sakuraba in pride sort of patented, oh, a little ground and pound. He sort of patented that flying stomp move.
I've seen him employ that on several instances, Stephen. You're right. If that was to be trademarked or patented by any fighter, I think it would be Sakuraba.
Yes, Mr. Kazushi Sakuraba, arguably the best middleweight fighter around.
Arguably the best fighter in the world, pound for pound, Stephen.
The ground and pound action, Jeremy's staying back far. Jeremy's chipping away, but Minotauro is the aggressor here.
I tell you, Tim, this is sort of the opposite relationship I thought these two might have in the fight.
Most definitely. I know me and you talked, Wade, about what we thought would happen and could happen, and very good display of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills here.
So we have a restart to standing by our referee, Kohler. Nice low kick by Horn. He's got good defense against the punches there.
I talked to Nogueira about this fight at length on several occasions, and Minotauro said he would be happy to strike with Horn or grapple with him. So I think he's coming out here knowing that he'll go one way or another with him no matter what.
Jeremy using the cage there to defend the tackle.
Somebody's bleeding. Jeremy's chipping away with those elbows.
I cannot see who's bleeding here. It looked as though the mouth of Horn may have been bleeding, but it's hard to tell.
Looks like there's a little bit of blood of Minotauro's forehead area, left brow.
I can't see that from my perspective here, Tim, but you may be right.
Now, I noticed that Minotauro has a little bit of a scar under his right shoulder blade. I wonder if that was where the truck hit him.
Minotauro will tell you that that's where 100 men attacked him with machetes, and that's his only scar. But as Minotauro passes to the side mount here.
He's got the side mount, but Jeremy Horn is still aggressive from the bottom with elbows.
Very calm. Horn, knowing that he's been here many, many times against many great fighters.
I tell you, Tim, and taking a look there, I think you're right. I think over the left eyebrow to left forehead area of Minotauro Nogueira, there may be a cut. We'll have to see whether that plays into this fight at all.
Most definitely.
Toro's getting off real high on that side mount, and this has a wearing effect. He's cooking Horn to a certain degree right now. Nice reversal by Horn. That was beautiful.
Reversal by Horn.
Horn's got to capitalize. Oh, Minotauro turning right back around again. That was very technical.
Looks like Jeremy went to his back there instead of having Minotauro take his back. Good call by Jeremy.
All those punches were blocked. Jeremy's got outstanding defense to the strike.
We hear some boos from the crowd, but people that follow the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu sport and this sport, you know, this is a very exciting matchup here. A lot of technique, a lot of tactic here and strategy.
I agree with you, Tim. Some of the more technical matches may not be the most crowd-thrilling for the general masses, but those who know no holds barred fighting in jiu-jitsu especially will know that this is a technical matchup that's just beyond parallel.
One of the things that I've noticed over the card so far is that most of the fighters are grappling oriented, because with the exception of Renato Babalu, there hasn't been a lot of effective striking. There has been busy striking, but they haven't hurt anyone with a strike. They're just...
I tell you, Stephen, I'd have to agree with you. I thought Roman Woodberg came out and was a pretty good striker, but again, he was just as happy to go to the mat. So it's an interesting mix.
He had reputed to have great, devastating strikes, but U.S.A, maybe it's because he was talented, did neutralize that. And here, these gentlemen are just basically throwing their strikes just to not stall, but they're not trying to do damage with their strikes. It's not like an Igor Vovchanski situation where the guy is trying to knock the guy's head off.
There we see some good boxing this way. I'm sorry, Steven.
That's fine. No, that was a good double jab right hand, and didn't do much damage. Nogueira is trying to load up now. Nice knee. This may end up to be a striking match because the jiu-jitsu seems to be fairly even on the ground so far.
Exactly, Steven. And I saw a good left elbow by Jeremy.
Nice combination of hands there, Tim, and you're right. There was a nice elbow.
Nice elbow. Great left elbow by Horn. That was a nice short little turnover on the left elbow.
I tell you,
right elbow. Beautiful.
Horn employing some Muay Thai techniques there, Steven.
Horn is really closing well on the end of this. He's just turning those elbows right over. Minotauro doesn't seem to have a defense for them in close, so he stays far. Minotauro does have the reach advantage here. Oh, Horn comes raging in with a good three-punch combination. And Horn shoots in. Uh-oh. He doesn't want to give up his back to this man.
Not really sure why he did that, Wade. He seemed to be pretty successful with his boxing. I'm not sure.
I agree with you, Tim. I think that Horn, being the smart fighter that he is, he may have known that the end of the round was approaching there, and rather than get into a last-minute flurry where Rodrigo could steal the round, he may have taken that shot just to neutralize it.
I think Horn stole the round.
What do you think, Tim?
Actually, I do. You know, I saw better cross-training as we go to instant replay.
And here we go to a very nice reversal by Jeremy Horn. That was beautiful, but Mr. Minotauro has his own reversal in mind, and Jeremy gives it up knowing that he might have given up his back in the exchange. Okay, Horn comes in raging with a 1, 2, 3-punch combination. The right hand did the most damage. Turn Minotauro, and then a good knee to the body.
I need you up. I need you up.
Horn's got some good stand-up skills.
Well, we all know Horn's an accomplished fighter, period, and he's certainly bringing a plethora of experience to the ring to a relatively novice Minotauro Nogueira from a no-holds-barred fighting standpoint.
Horn goes high with the roundhouse. It misses. Minotauro shoots. Horn just gives up, pulls guard. In a 3 8-minute round fight, conditioning definitely is a factor.
No question about it.
Both fighters taking this fight very seriously, training very hard. I had the opportunity to watch Horn train for this fight, and he cross-trained very hard and took this fight very seriously, as he knew he'd have a very gamed opponent, Nogueira, excuse me, as well as I'm sure Wade got some opportunities to watch Nogueira prepare.
You know, Horn is really applying a lot of pressure on the ground when Nogueira goes for that. Like he's trying a reverse arm crank there, and Nogueira really didn't want to engage him on the ground. I think this fight has surprised a lot of people. Some people thought that Nogueira would walk through Jeremy Horn.
I tell you, I certainly think that Minotauro Nogueira is someone to be reckoned with, but anybody that thinks somebody's going to walk through Horn, at least on a professional basis, I just don't see it happening. Horn has stood up to the best of them in the ring. He's an excellent fighter.
Yeah, because there's like a close to 30, no, God, it was a great low kick. There's almost a 30-pound weight advantage here for Minotauro and his Abu Dhabi experience. Nice double leg.
Once again to the takedown. And to the half guard of Horn.
Horn's going to work from here.
I'll tell you, I have a chance to train with Minotauro Nogueira in Fort Lauderdale on a repetitive basis. And Nogueira is a very, very patient fighter, as I think is Horn. So this is going to be a chess match. There may be some intermingled striking and some kicks that go on, but I think this is going to be a chess match between two, game fighters.
So far it has been, and sometimes chess matches are not crowd pleasers. And there's a restart by Kip Kohler, our referee.
Still approximately 6 minutes to go left in the round. Anything could happen. Oh, beautiful high roundhouse by Jeremy.
Partially blocked by Minotauro, but he goes low again. Minotauro shoots again. He doesn't want to stand up with Horn. That's become obvious.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Stephen.
Which makes sense.
Stephen, Tim, I have a question for both of you. If this fight does go to the card, with Horn having the name and the reputation and the experience that he does, do you think it's difficult for the judges, so I'm sure would not be biased, but do you think it's difficult to go against the Jeremy Horn in the decision?
That's an interesting point, but I think that the judges here, because one of them is from Japan, 2 of the other ones are from stateside. I don't think that that will necessarily be a factor. I don't think there's going to be a hometown thing.
Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. I think that as in any sport, basketball, underneath the boards, the big-name players get a little more leniency in what they're allowed to do and the body that they're allowed to put on their opponents.
Jeremy Horn's a likable guy, so any judge or anybody would hate to, score against him. But we're here in neutral grounds, here in Rome, Georgia. Neither fighter being from here, so I believe we'll see a good decision by the judges if it was happened to go close to that.
So it looks like Jeremy is defending the mount fairly well, but Minotauro is kind of cooking him a little bit, but Horn spins out and gets guard. A little tap there by Minotauro. Minotauro can't solve this mystery, though.
I'll tell you, we've seen an excellent display of ground skills by Jeremy Horn.
In a defensive way, he's kind of controlled the fight. Goes for the big left hook there.
Nogueira respond with his own.
Oh, nice high kick by Horn. That was beautiful. And Horn shoots.
We'll see Jeremy roll to his back here.
That was a nice high kick. If it had a little more oomph on it, maybe he would have knocked it down. But it did more to stun, maybe embarrass him.
I tell you, as in most fights, you see Horn's confidence beginning to increase as the fight goes on.
I don't think Horn wants to play this game from this position with this man. If he sinks the other leg hook in, it's going to be difficult for him because it's a big man on his back. Horn does spin out.
Exactly.
He spins out. Good move by Jeremy. Now we're back in the stalemate, down and up position. I expect a restart any moment. There it is.
As they come back to a standing position, Jeremy Horn and Rodrigo Nogueira about 5 minutes and 15 seconds into the second of 3 8-minute rounds, World Extreme Fighting 8, going platinum in Rome, Georgia. You may notice there, get a good look at the scar on the back of Rodrigo Nogueira. That scar, in fact, was caused by a severe automobile accident he was involved in when he was a young man. Nice combination of strikes here by Rodrigo Nogueira to Horn.
Horn did block most of those, but Nogueira got busy. And he dumps Jeremy down, but then Jeremy grabs his leg, and we're back into a stalemate.
Jeremy Horn perfectly content to come and play guard with a very accomplished scrapper in Rodrigo Minotauro Nogueira.
Strange thing is that Minotauro does not seem to want to engage him.
2 minutes, guys.
You hear Kip Kohler instruct both fighters. There's 2 minutes left in the round.
There's another high kick by Horn. Goes for the shoot, goes for the single. Nogueira sprawls back. Nogueira's got a clean opportunity at a left knee here to the body. Whether he'll take it or not.
Well, you're absolutely right, Stephen. You see Jeremy Horn blocking the knee that could come to his head as they were in the position, which left an opportunity for Nogueira to bring about a left knee to the body of Horn. Nonetheless, they come into a guard position again.
Expect a high kick by Horn.
They've been effective to this point.
Why not throw another one? But load up this time. See? Right there. If he caught him with the shin, like a Thai boxer, that would have been a knockdown. But he caught him with a foot, not as as an effective strike as a shin kick.
I tell you, this is an interesting display here. One fighter bringing the other back to the feet. The other fighter shoots. They seem perfectly content there.
Horn is working. Sorry, looking for. He's almost. Oh, mind if Charles spun out, but Horn was going for that back. He was going to go for that back.
This is the first time during the course of the fight we see Jeremy Horn on top and Nogueira on the bottom. We get a chance to look at Nogueira's guard.
And round 2. I got to say that Jeremy Horn is fighting a very, very smart fight here, and he's controlling the action, Tim.
Yes, he is, Stephen. You're absolutely right. As I mentioned earlier, I can't stress how serious of a fight this is for both fighters. Both fighters prepared very hard, and there's a lot of special interest in this match. So we still have another round to go. So it's one of those fights. Anything can happen. It could sway either way.
Excellent point, Tim. I tell you, interesting paradigm here because as we go to a replay.
Jeremy Horn goes with that right high kick and crack. He catches Minotauro, and Minotauro seems to be puzzled how to solve the mystery of the high kick.
Nice look at the combinations here, Nogueira against Horn backed up against the fence.
And Horn virtually blocked every one of those punches. One almost squeaked through. Nogueira. And here we go to the high kick again, and kaboom! Jeremy Horn seems to be real happy with his performance on the stand-up game. He's landing counter punches and really good high kicks. He's neutralizing Minotauro on the ground. Then we go to round 2. Minotauro comes out jabbing. Horn jabs back. I expect Horn to do, oh, good right hand by Minotauro. That was a good shot. Horn clinches him. Gets ready for the Muay Thai knee. And a single. Horn gives it up.
Goes right to the mat. I tell you what I started to touch on earlier, Stephen, is that you don't obtain a 37-4-4 record in this day and age of no-holds-barred fighting by being a stupid fighter or by doing reckless things in the ring. And Jeremy Horn is certainly one of the most accomplished no-holds-barred fighters in the game today. Interesting paradigm as Rodrigo Nogueira advanced to the quarterfinals of the rings. He was one of the last 4 left in the rings A bracket, and Horn lost the bout early. Many felt if that bout was a no-holds-barred fight, that Horn would have won that fight, no problem, but the rings limits striking on the ground, which is certainly one of Horn's advantages.
That's a very good point, Wade. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, it is, because Horn has displayed some striking skills in this match. Good low kick, for instance. Nogueira throws his own low kick, but it didn't have as much oomph on it. I expect Horn is going to go low, 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 then high again. He's going to throw the high kick again. And see it coming. Nogueira's got his hands down by his chest. And Horn knows he's going to throw the high kick. He's going to fake the right hand. Oh, spinning back kick. That can hurt. Horn deflects and blocks all of the good right hand counter. He just covered up, waited for an opportunity, then dropped the right hand.
I tell you, you're right, Stephen. Nogueira had a nice flurry there in appearance, but I don't think many of those shots landed solidly.
Here comes a low kick. The problem with a lot of fighters when they're standing is that they'll show their kick before they do it. They don't throw the jab before they throw the kick. They just throw the kick, and many times the other fighter can just move back. Like Jeremy, double jab, right hand. He's got a pretty educated left jab. And he caught a little bit of that left hook by Nogueira. Jeremy should throw that right low kick again. Looks like he's going to go with that left high kick, though. Oops. Nogueira's got to be careful not to punch himself out because he misses a lot of those punches. Horn does have a good cover-up in the stand-up.
Nice knee by Nogueira.
That was a nice knee. Looks like Jeremy's wanting to catch a second win here. It's going to be a boxing match here.
Once again, back to the overhook, underhook position. Tim, has this fight gone the way that you expected it to, or is this a surprise to you?
This is a you know, a big surprise to me. You know, I have the opportunity to train with Jeremy Horn, and you know, I did not expect this type of fight from him. He's been very willing to play with Nogueira on the ground, and you know, his confidence has, you know, been he's been overly confident. He's looking for, you know, to tee off on Nogueira with a lot of punches, you know, when possible, and he's more than obliged to take Nogueira on the ground as well. So very, you know, good stuff by Jeremy Horn. Very impressed.
And I tell you, as Steven touched on earlier, every time that Rodrigo Nogueira flurries, Horn is more than willing and able to come back out with a counterpunch that seems to be much more effective. It's been Jeremy Horn's fight to some degree.
Nogueira just tried to get the mount. Jeremy did a perfect elevator, got him back into a loose guard. Nogueira he lands a little punch there. He's getting busy.
This fight has so much for the different fans of No Holds Barred. You know, we've shown a great display of boxing and stand-up skills, as well as a great display of ground jiu-jitsu skills as well.
I tell you, these are two mixed martial artists, Tim, and that's what the sport has become, as Steven touched on earlier.
Absolutely, Wade.
It's going to be interesting to see Jeremy Horn's high kick and high kick, let's say by Pele, the difference of the power, if it so happens to play a factor when he fights Miletich.
Jeremy Horn invites Rodrigo Nogueira to join him on the mat.
I think one of the problems in mixed martial arts that a fighter encounters in the training is they cannot train on one specific thing and get great at it. So, for instance, a high kick or a punch to be able to knock a person out. They have to, nice low kick. They have to train in so many different elements that they suffer sometimes from the jack of all trades, master of none syndrome. Because you have to know how to defend on the ground and you have to know how to defend standing up. So, for instance, a straight jiu-jitsu player may be able to tap out a mixed martial art player in straight jiu-jitsu, but in a no-holds-barred fight, he doesn't know how to defend a strike, per se, like a Matt Hughes-Pereira situation, and he gets beat.
Coming from a striking and kickboxing background, Steven, have the kicks of Horn been effective so far?
Actually, not to any large extent, no, because he doesn't have as much power as, let's say, a K1 fighter or something. But the thing is, he's scoring points, and the low kicks probably going to have more effect than the high kicks. And it's frustrating to a fighter when you're getting kicked in the face. It throws you out of your game plan because you know that the judge is going to say, "Hey, that's a big-time score."
Steven, do you think that Jeremy Horn has imposed his game plan in this fight?
Absolutely. He's totally imposed his game plan. Minotauro has attempted to impose his game plan, but Jeremy Horn, in a way, has shut him down.
I would have to agree with you to some degree, Steven. It was interesting, a comment that you made earlier was that if only by defense, Jeremy Horn has controlled the pace and neutralized Nogueira. And I think that's to some degree exactly what's happened in this fight.
Absolutely. Not only by defense, but by defense and by countering with his defense. Every time he does some defensive move, he's just not pulling guard, holding on. He's working for position. He'll throw down like he's going for an arm bar, then he'll hit him. He'll do like he's going to try and elevate him, then he'll hit him. He'll do something, and then he'll hit him, just with a little tap. These aren't devastating blows, but they are enough to distract and to go to the judge. The judge is saying that that's a strike and it's a score. Exactly. Okay, 30 seconds left. I think Horn has got the fight under control. The judges may not see it that way, but I see that he is controlling the fight. It looks like he's got on his way to a victory. Coming down to 20 seconds left.
I tell you, he has controlled the fight. I would not be surprised to see this go to overtime, though, Steven. I think from the standpoint of the judges' view so far, as we see a mouthpiece drop out there.
Yeah, that knee knocked the mouthpiece right out of Minotauro. It's going to be a close call, but I wouldn't be surprised if they gave the decision to Horn in this particular one. It's going to be interesting. be interesting. Minotaur does have a little bit of a nick, it looks like.
Is this been open?
I think Horn has used a really compact, compressed control and counter style and good stand-up. I would have to give him a slight edge in winning the fight.
Exactly, Stephen. We've seen, we've all seen, I think we can all say that there's a little bit of the Pat Miletich flavor in Jeremy Horn this evening. You know, and that's a good, you know, and, you know, we'll be seeing more of Pat Miletich later on this evening. But in regards to Jeremy Horn, though, that Pat Miletich flavor is definitely there. You know, Pat has, you know, the potential to shut fighters down. You know, Townsend Saunders, the Macacos, all those exciting fighters that are very deadly, you know, and I think we're seeing that in Jeremy Horn this evening.
That's an excellent point, because it wasn't like a Miletich-esque type performance, because Pat does take a guy out of his game plan and make him look bad. Let's see what the judge is thinking. Let's go up.
We have a decision. All three judges give the bout to the winner of the heavyweight super fight champion, Rodrigo Nogueira. President of World Extreme Fighting will give the belt, Mr. Jamie LaVerne.
That's an interesting decision. I
would have to disagree, Stephen.
I tell you, the fight was very close. I saw it very close, but I felt like, as you said on several occasions, as we see Jamie LaVerne, the promoter of World Extreme Fighting, strapping the belt on the heavyweight super fight champion Rodrigo Minotauro Nogueira. It was a good fight. It was a strategic fight. I can't say as the decision could go one way or another. I thought that should go to overtime. It was not a unanimous decision, in my opinion.
I would have given the fight to Horn. Minotauro wasn't hurt. Let's watch some action here. Minotauro comes in. That punch was blocked. Horn goes to that punch was blocked. That punch landed. That punch was blocked. So he's busy here. Maybe the judges, and Horn landed a good right hand right there. Maybe they went for quantity over quality. And Rodrigo is busy here, but most of those punches are not landing.
Well, I tell you, if you replay the fight in a step-by-step basis, I think that everybody thought that Minotauro Nogueira would take Horn down and have his way on the ground, which certainly didn't happen.
Yeah, well, it's a good victory for him. I'm sure Horn has been in the winner's circle many times and the loser's circle. I'm sure he's going to go away with his head held high. In his heart, he knows that he did a good performance against a bigger man. Let's go to the next fight now. Coming up, John Lewis from Las Vegas, Nevada versus LaVerne Clark, Davenport. Here he comes, LaVerne Clark, 5'11", 165 pounds with a record of 9-4. You know, LaVerne can hit. That's all we can say about him. Talking about shutting down fighters, he tends to shut down guys because he's such a heavy hitter. He defends the takedown. He's got a fast, long reach. He's pro boxing level. He uses the ring well, and he's just mean.
I tell you, Stephen, we had a chance to talk to most of these fighters, including LaVerne Clark beforehand, and LaVerne Clark called himself Fists of Fury, as John Lewis makes his way to the ring from Las Vegas, Nevada. 6 foot tall, 158 pounds with a record of 8-3-2.
Lewis is a black belt under Judo Gene LaBelle, and he primarily is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at this moment, but he does train in boxing as well. I think there's going to be some effective striking in this fight.
I would have to agree with you. His submission skills are excellent. He does have good boxing skills, as we saw in the last UFC, and he does have experience against top guys, Stephen.
Yeah, he fought Joe Hill de Oliveira. The tail of the tape is Johnny Lewis is 31, height 6 feet, 158 pounds, 72-inch reach. Clark is 26, 5'11", 165, and a reach of 76 inches. Let's go up to T.J. Thompson for the introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next bout will be for the World Extreme Fighting Lightweight Super Fight Belt. Fighting out of the corner to my left. Professional fighting record of 9 wins and 4 losses. Fights out of Davenport, Iowa. Please welcome LaVerne, Fists of Fury, Clark. And ladies and gentlemen, his opponent this evening, on my right, wearing black trunks and black top, from Las Vegas, Nevada, please welcome John Lewis. Ladies and gentlemen, this is scheduled for 3 8-minute rounds. Making the calls will be Big John McCarthy.
John McCarthy, the most recognizable referee in the sport. Now that's an intense look.
Gentlemen, get on back right now. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on. Come on.
I knew we'd say that.
In fact, I read the other day, Stephen, that he's trademarked that saying.
With Mills Lane. He shares it with Mills Lane, the great boxing referee who's also an appellate judge. A lot of strategy here. They're going to feel each other out. They're not going to just go in there like 2 trains on the same track. They're going to move around. I expect LaVerne to throw that jab. I expect him to do a little talking in the ring, too. Nice low kick by Lewis. Lewis is fighting with a shirt on. I wonder why that is.
Stephen, you find that many of the submission fighters prefer, especially in training, to train with a slick shirt or a grasping shirt like this, which allows them to secure an arm against the body and look for a submission. And I would expect that's probably what John Lewis is going to be looking for against LaVerne Clark here. I don't think he's going to want to box him.
No, not at all. Wade, that's a good point. It's obvious. I mean, you see how light John is on his feet because he knows he cannot be a stationary target for LaVerne. There's a lot of bounce in those legs. He knows he can't stand there and stay stationary with LaVerne.
I think these 2 athletes are so well conditioned, but Johnny Lewis has just got a phenomenal build. He's just all sinew.
I'd agree with you there, Stephen. I tell you, it doesn't look like LaVerne Clark's heavy on body fat either.
No, he's pretty cut himself.
I tell you, interesting side note about this this fight. Of all the fighters in this event tonight, every single fighter, LaVerne Clark had a reach that extended 1.5 inches beyond all of them.
And that is a factor when you're doing a stand-up game and striking, especially when you've got pro boxing ability and the velocity of punches, because it's the speed in which a punch is delivered, not the strength behind it, that determines the power in which it has.
You're right, Stephen. When boxers train, they train to put the punch out, put the punch back, put the punch out, put the punch back, as fast and as quick as possible.
Well, Lewis shoots in, and what a beautiful sprawl by LaVerne Clark.
LaVerne Clark able to establish his high school wrestling background there to avoid the takedown by Johnny Lewis.
Johnny Lewis kind of dropped LaVerne with that low kick, though. Johnny doesn't want to be in that position because LaVerne is going to eat him up. He can only cover up so much against a guy like LaVerne Clark. There's a knee.
Tim, I was unable to confirm it. I'm sorry, Steve. Tim, I was unable to confirm it, but I was told that LaVerne Clark was an Iowa State wrestling champion. You know if that's a fact?
Actually, that would have to be one that I would have to be.
You'd have to defer on as well.
I usually like to know the answers, but that one I would have to check on.
Yeah, there's a lot of energy being expended here, guys. That's a real tight clinch. And LaVerne is pounding away. I think because these guys are so well conditioned, they're not going to gas from this kind of expansion.
Well, they're not carrying around much extra body fat, that's for sure, Stephen, as we touched on earlier. John Lewis, he teaches and trains out of Las Vegas, Nevada. I think he's going to be well conditioned and prepared. I expect this fight to go a long ways.
Come on.
Johnny is staying close, and this is neutralizing LaVerne to a certain extent. Lewis wants to be close or far away. He wants to use the range, the correct range to fight a LaVerne Clark. If he stays on the end of those punches, he will regret it.
Your hand off the throat.
John McCarthy was warning him. Now, oh, nice takedown by Lewis, but LaVerne ends up on top.
As it hits the ground here between the two fighters, it's an interesting note that LaVerne Clark did compete against Matt Hughes in the Extreme Best of the Best tournament, and he was able to establish a full mount on Matt Hughes as well. So that's just kind of an interesting note as we watch how this fight unfolds.
And an impressive win earlier by Matt Hughes. So certainly to gain a full mount on Matt Hughes, and I saw that fight. I think he took Matt Hughes down twice, if I do recall,
yes,
in that fight. To take Hughes down is quite an accomplishment in itself. However, I don't think he wants to stay in the guard and play the ground game with John Lewis here.
No, not at all.
No, he doesn't, because John Lewis will slip an armbar on him quick. But LaVerne does have good defense. He trains with Pat Miletich and Jeremy Horn, so he knows his submissions.
He does know his submissions. I believe that he would be probably better fending off the submissions as well as, you know, than applying them.
He's known primarily as a striker because of his boxing background.
Although, as we touched on earlier, it's become mixed martial arts, and everybody gets to the point where they know a little bit of everything.
Exactly. Good point, Wade.
Well, Lewis was running around the ring in a defensive manner early because at the end of the first round, LaVerne Clark does have 23 professional pro boxing matches, and that's nothing to be laughed at when you're standing in a mixed martial art fight. So, Don Fry, who was a great mixed martial artist, had a pro boxing career, and he really imposed some heavy leather when he would fight. So John does know to stay either out of range or stay close. Seems to be a little bit of a cut on the right temple of John Lewis.
There at least is some blood there. Stephen, I haven't been able to ascertain whether there's a cut yet or not, but there certainly is some blood there.
Looks more like a scratch than anything.
Well, to get out of the round with a boxer and a heavy-handed guy like LaVerne Clark and only have a scratch on the side of your head is a pretty good accomplishment, Stephen.
I would tend to agree.
Yes.
To me, LaVerne Clark just reads, he's a predator. I am a predator. I'm coming out. I'm going to punch you.
You ready? You ready? Get after each other.
As Big John McCarthy tells him, let's get after each other. That's what LaVerne's going to try to do standing here.
It just seems to me that LaVerne is just dying to throw that right hand. And Johnny shoots under. LaVerne underhooks. He goes for his own half guillotine. Not much on it. John might have an actual takedown in a couple moments if LaVerne arches too much. John pulls guard instead. Still not a good position to be in.
Put your fingers inside. Come on.
At this point, Lewis is doing little else than just to tie up LaVerne and hold him and wait for him to make a mistake. Unlike what Horn was doing with Minotauro, Horn was working for positions constantly and changing positions, whereas LaVerne, I think, is possibly got a stronger base, and it's harder for Lewis to deal with.
This is not a position that I would think that LaVerne Clark would want to stay in. You're right, Stephen. I'm surprised he hasn't attempted to just stand up here and bring it back to the feet.
Well, Lewis is holding on to him, so he's making it difficult. It's hard to break that because Lewis is just holding tight. It's almost as if he's trying to wear LaVerne down and hope LaVerne will punch himself out, but LaVerne's in great shape, so I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, I'm also wondering if maybe the reason why LaVerne is spending so much time here is because he knows John can be a stationary target here to unleash the leather, where compared to on the feet, John was very bouncy and moving, and he could never get a chance to throw the straight right.
Yeah, LaVerne was going for an over-under choke there, but it threw Lewis out of his hold him and wait plan. It wasn't going to submit John Lewis, but it did. He is being aggressive in doing that.
Come on, work your way through it. Let's go. Come on, improve or I'm going to stand you up. Come on, let's go. Let's do something.
I think it's imminent that Big John will stand these guys back up because it's almost a stalemated position. There's a little bit of activity, but not much. Uh-oh, almost got a side mouth there. LaVerne landed a little bit of a glancing punch, and then there was another one. And LaVerne's got a knee opportunity. Oh, good uppercut.
Those that follow John Lewis's career maybe know that he can't, or he doesn't recover from punches too well. He had a hard time with Kenny Monday in Extreme Fighting #4 in Des Moines, Iowa. John Lewis was on his back, open guard, and Kenny Monday was hovering over the top of him, throwing a lot of leather down. And John Lewis had a difficult time responding to that.
Exactly. And Kenny Monday was more of a wrestler than he was a boxer. A man with LaVerne Clark's ability. Although Johnny Lewis since then has been training in boxing.
Yes,
so
sir.
He has been able to neutralize the strikes a lot more effectively than he did back then.
Correct.
So both these men stand a better chance in this fight.
Lewis quite content to work the inside guard back against the cage. I think McCarthy's going to stand these guys up.
I think so.
Work your way out. You got to do something, guys. I'm going to get you up. Come on. Get busy.
Now those chopping little punches are more than annoying. They can actually sting quite a bit.
Come on. Get it going. Get it going.
LaVerne should throw a knee here. Johnny's covering up pretty well, so he's not
doing a nice job of defending those strikes. You're absolutely right, Stephen. I just started to say that as you opened up.
Yeah, he hasn't really but he didn't block that one. That was right on the temple. He's bleeding a little bit now. I don't know if it's from the nose. But LaVerne's got a clean shot here. John's got to continue to cover up. He can't absorb any of these punches. Oh, he's
possibly a triangle attempt.
Yeah, he's going for a triangle armbar. Yeah,
exactly.
He's got to watch. His head's open. He could drop the knee. A lot of energy being expended here. End of round 2. LaVerne is on him, and I don't know, something's wrong with LaVerne's finger.
One more time, I'm going to disqualify you. Understand that? Okay, quit sticking your thumbs in his throat.
Okay. Big John McCarthy has warned LaVerne Clark for sticking his thumbs in John Lewis's throat, which is illegal under World Extreme Fighting rules. You cannot attack the trachea or the windpipe with the fingertips.
Big John warning LaVerne Clark there about the thumbs to the throat, and LaVerne Clark's reply was, yeah, but I'm winning the fight.
Okay. Here we have LaVerne defending the shoot and going for a right hand, which grazes. Then the uppercut lands more. Then Johnny shoots, and LaVerne sprawls, and LaVerne has got a great defense for the shoot. He pancakes down so well. He could have thrown a great kick or knee here, but he's not a kicker. And it's just another replay. That uppercut was more to the body than it was to the chin. Here we are in round 3.
Lewis appears to have some marks on the area of his forehead. I can't tell if that's blood stains or if it's a little bit of swelling starting to pronounce itself.
Get after each other, come on.
It looks like he's just getting scraped up, and he's getting roughed up on the ground. He is. I mean, he's not doing much offensively. He's pretty much been in defensive mode. He tried the one arm bar. LaVerne defended well. LaVerne is just basically roughing him up. Only landed a couple clean shots himself, but he has controlled the fight from the top. Now there's a stomp technique. Johnny throws a low kick. Johnny seems to be a little bit gassed or something at this point. Here we are back on the fence. LaVerne on top, chopping away.
John Lewis looks a little bit more scathed, as you gentlemen mentioned. I believe it's because LaVerne's Clark glove. It's more of a puncher's type of glove if you look at it. It's not the typical Rev Gear or Boxergenics. John Lewis is using the Boxergenics glove, which is more of a grappler's type of glove, which would suit his style better, where LaVerne's has the puncher style of glove.
Now he's just going shin to shin right here and just kicking away at Johnny Lewis.
Do you think that John Lewis might be frustrating LaVerne Clark here?
Not to a large degree. I think that those strikes were mainly just because John wanted to get busy.
We heard LaVerne Clark warned earlier for sticking his thumb in the trachea of John Lewis. I tell you, World Extreme Fighting doesn't have many rules, but that is one of them. Also, there are no groin strikes, no eye gouging, no biting, no ear gouging. And that's about the limit of it. You can kick, strike, punch, hit, knee, anything that you like, standing, on the ground, you name it. As you see John Lewis take a shot in on LaVerne Clark here.
Good position for LaVerne to throw those uppercuts, elbows to the back of the head.
They're screaming elbow, and there he responds with an elbow.
Come on.
I think his corner was looking for him to take that elbow to the head when Lewis's head was sitting on his thigh, and Lewis changed his position. He took the elbow to the back.
Exactly, Wade.
Certainly takes a toll, but less so than taking an elbow to the head.
LaVerne should throw that left knee to the head of John Lewis right here, right here.
I agree with you. It's certainly open, Stephen.
Once he brings it back right there.
Come on, you gotta move
Because
yourself.
Lewis is going to grab it anyway. Might as well give him a shot. Now he's going for a loose guillotine. Now he's got him into a side cradle. The right knee is the weapon he wants to employ here. And Lewis pops out of it into the guard.
John Lewis has very, very good hips, very mobile.
Nice transition back into the full guard by John Lewis. Again, he implores the technique of wrapping around LaVerne Clark, pulling him down, and hopefully limiting LaVerne Clark's striking techniques. As you touched on earlier, Stephen, it also keeps LaVerne Clark from standing this fight back up.
Gentlemen, don't let the judge decide. Let's work. Come on.
It's difficult at this point, but what LaVerne wants to do is basically break loose of that grip of John Lewis, stand back up, turn it into a stand-up war.
Come on, get it
It's
moving.
more of a chance to win decisively than to go to an overtime. But John's face is showing the wear and tear of the roughing up that LaVerne Clark is doing.
He's got to be careful leaving those arms hanging that high on John Lewis. John Lewis certainly can.
That was a good right hand right there. Okay, we have 1 minute left in the fight.
Get your fingers out of his face.
I'm sorry, Stephen. I started to say that John Lewis could transition into a submission with those arms staying so high very quickly, especially an arm bar or some type of arm lock. Would you agree, Tim? Or?
Yes, most definitely. That's a very good point.
Come on.
John Lewis, I mean, is a very dangerous opponent, you know, to be reaching that far up and forward. Could definitely open up doors.
Don't do that or go ahead,
John
Buzz.
Lewis.
Let's go. Come on. Watch your chin.
He chinned him
Watch your chin.
to the sternum, and John McCarthy warned him for a headbutt. I guess the chin is part of the head. So technically, it is a headbutt.
Come on.
I have seen the chin applied to the eye socket, which is considered an eye gouge in this sport, but I don't think I've ever seen a chin butt.
That's the first one I've ever seen. Tim?
I watch a lot of shows, and that's the first one I've seen as well.
So we have a unanimous decision that the chin butt is a new technique applied by LaVerne Clark on John Lewis this evening.
Now, let's go to the judges. We'll see if there is a decision or if they go to an overtime. I would have to say that possibly LaVerne Clark had done enough to win the fight, but we've been wrong earlier in the broadcast.
Back to the replay.
And he's using the hammer fist, and that was a good punch to the ear of Lewis. And there's another one. That was a very effective strike. And he tries the left hand. Lewis ties those arms up for the most part, but the two good right hands got in. And here's the chin butt. And he looks up at John McCarthy.
We have a unanimous decision, and lightweight super fight title holder, LaVerne Fist of Fury. Woo!
I don't think there's any surprise there, Stephen.
No, well, we got that one
The
right.
title bout will be World Extreme Fighting President Jamie LaVerne.
We did get that one right. And LaVerne used his boxing, his wrestling, and obviously his defensive skill against jiu-jitsu from training with Jeremy Horn and Pat Miletich to neutralize and to rough up Johnny Lewis.
Exactly, good point. You're right, we did get that one right. We're 0-1 this evening here.
Actually, we're 1-1.
1-1.
Yeah, and there he is with the new title belt. And Mr. Levine is putting him on him. LaVerne is psyched. He is psyched. Yeah, and now let's go back to our main event. Miletich versus Landi. America versus Brazil. So many people have been waiting for this match. It's been years in the making. Some people thought it was being avoided. Two great champions. And here he comes. Jose, Pele, Landi, 5'11", 176 pounds, 39 wins and 3 losses. This man is a legend in Brazil. He is one, he's got tough kicks, tough knees, he's got attitude. He will not quit.
I tell you, to touch on that will not quit, we saw the fight in Brazil between Pele and...
Okay, and here he is, Pat Miletich. Bettendorf, Iowa, 5'10", 175 pounds, 30 wins, 2 losses, and 2 draws. As you were saying, Pele was fought against Chuck Liddell, wasn't it?
Chuck Liddell, punishing fight. He took a great deal of punishment.
Pele and Miletich both have a common opponent in Macaco.
Jorge Macaco Patino, right. Miletich fought him in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and Pele knocked him out twice in Brazil. This will be for the world title. Pat's strengths are endurance, hard punches, defends the takedown, and he's a technician. And he also, as we said earlier, shuts down his opponent. And let's go to the tail of the tape. Miletich is 31 years old, 5'10", 175 pounds, 71.5 inches in the reach. Pele is 26, 5'11", 176 pounds, and 74.5 inches on the reach. This is the one we've been waiting for. Let's go up to T.J. Thompson for the introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rome, Georgia, the Forum, World Extreme Fighting 8, going platinum. Are you ready? One more time, ladies and gentlemen of Georgia, are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, their fighter to my left is ranked number 2 in the world by the Mixed Martial Arts Association. His style is Vale Tudo and Muay Thai. His fighting record is 39-3. From Curitiba, Brazil, please welcome Jose Pele Landi. And ladies and gentlemen, his opponent tonight, the fighter on my right in the blue full contact fighter trunks, is ranked number 1 in the world. A professional fighting record of 30 wins against only 2 losses and 2 draws. Fighting out of Bettendorf, Iowa, please welcome the Croatian sensation, Pat Miletich. It will be 3 8-minute rounds on Big John McCarthy's command.
It's for the World Extreme Fighting.
There will be 2 more fights after this fight, ladies and gentlemen. Stick tight.
It will be for the Super Fight Championship.
Here we go.
This is the clash of the lightweight titans. World Extreme Fighting 8, going platinum. Pele versus Miletich. Both men are accomplished on their feet, on the ground. Anything can happen in this fight. Good jab by Pele. Miletich shoots in. Now here we see Miletich doing just what everybody said he would do, and that's to shut down Pele to a certain extent. Pele has got great knees.
I tell you, in the pre-fight interview, Stephen, Pele made an interesting comment. He said that Pat Miletich is the 8 ball for this fight. I think the reference he was making is he's been playing pool in the NHB world for several years, and this is the 8 ball he needs to sink to become the #1 lightweight fighter in the world, as we see Pele Landi work the takedown on Pat Miletich.
I think that this is going to be an interesting fight. What Miletich needs to do is pretty much what he's doing. He needs to slow Pele's pace down. He needs to do what Horn did to Nogueira and basically make Pele fight his fight. Pele, that was a beautiful left hand. Pele goes for a leg lock. Pele is going for a straight Achilles lock. He's trying to turn it over. I don't think he's going to be able to get this on Miletich, but the fact that he's going for it shows that Pele is not afraid to try wild things.
Well, in the interview, Pele also made the comment that one of his biggest attributes is he lets his spirit fly when he fights. And we certainly know he lets his knuckles, feet, and everything else fly as well.
As we just saw, Pele missing with the high roundhouse.
Okay, now we're in stand-up mode. We can expect to see punches from Miletich, punches, kicks, and knees from Pele. I expect a low kick from Pele any minute.
Pat said in his pre-fight interview that he felt that Landi was a very, very tough character. Wow. Nice front kick there by Pele Landi. That he felt that Pele Landi was...
There's the low kick.
But he felt that Pele Landi was a very, very tough character, but he was only as tough as you let him be, and that he wasn't going to let him get going. We'll see if Pat can apply the pressure and keep that from happening.
Now they're in the clinch. Pat knows to get close. He doesn't want to be in the tie clinch. Pele underhooks. I expect the left knee of Pele. Body punches on Miletich. Pele going over the top. Nothing there. Good body punch by Pat. Pat blocking Pele's right knee. Another good body punch. There's the left knee. There's a lot of respect, obviously, between these two fighters by the way they are fighting. They know they can't make a mistake.
He's grabbing my gloves. Let go of the glove, let go of the glove.
Well, I think we felt that there may be a feeling out period here, a bit of conservatism. As we know, Pele gets going as the fight progresses. He really starts to find his stride, to find his mark. Pat's game plan has always been fight his fight and his fight only. It'll be interesting to see where this heads.
Turning Pele back into the cage. Good ploy, good strategy by Pat.
Hands off the trunks, let's go. Come on.
Tempted elbow there by Pele. It just landed on the top of Pat's shoulder. Nothing on it, per se. Pat is doing what he does. Some have said that Pat is not the premier fighter when it comes to excitement. It was a good knee by Pele, but he is there to win.
As I said earlier, Stephen, he just goes out and imposes his game plan on everyone that he fights. He does not get ruffled. He does not get hurried. He does not get impatient. He imposes his game plan on the other fighters, and that's certainly his biggest strength. He fights his fight.
But that's the third knee in a row that Pele has landed to the body. A little fake knee with the left, then knee with the right. Another knee to the body. These will add up later. Pele tries for the suplex. Another knee. Pele kneeing to the body. Pat punching to the body with the right hand. Pele's having his way with the knee, and a nice Nice takedown by Pele.
Exact same takedown that he scored actually earlier with against Pat.
He's got side mount. He's not going to rush into anything.
Pat staying very calm, but sort of a disadvantage to be up against the cage pinned in like that.
Pele has fought a number of his fights in Brazil with headbutts. It must be a little bit of a conscious effort to not throw the headbutt in a fight like the World Extreme Fighting rules, which do not allow headbutts.
I tell you, it's interesting that you say that because we saw Mark Colin briefly earlier, and that was one of his biggest assets was headbutts, and when those were taken away.
Pele jumps up and lands right off kick. Beautiful stomp kick, and then he catches Miletich on the way up.
Stephen, did you see the vertical leap that Pele just instituted?
It looked like Michael Jordan to me. Well, maybe not that high, but it looks like Pele is trying to get into Miletich's head. Pele, when he saw Miletich at the hotel, had an interesting way of greeting him. He took off his jacket and walked over to him and looked him right in the eye and shook his hand. Pele throws the left hand. Pat's throwing punches. Now, Pele goes for the jump knee. Pat tries to punch his way out. Another knee by Pele.
Pele looking very strong there in that tie clinch.
Tie clinch is not where Pat wants to be. He can punch his way out, but Pele, if he lands one knee on the chin, Pat is cut.
There is a small amount of blood coming out of what appears to be over the right eye of Pat Miletich, Stephen.
Yeah. I don't believe the cut, though, will actually take Pat out of the game plan. You don't come in and fight somebody of Pele's stature and not understand you're not going to get cut. So I believe, Pat understands that, you know, you're going to take some hits against Pele, but
sure. It's interesting, with the exception of about 3 body shots, Pat has not landed a great deal of punches to Pele. This is exactly as we expected because Pele has thrown the knee and Pat has thrown the punch. They've clinched. Not a lot of ground. Nice elbow by Pat Miletich, though. It was more of a forearm strike, but still, nonetheless.
Steve, there's a welt on the left leg of Pat Miletich, which we had a good look at there for a moment.
As I said before, some of the stand-up and striking in the earlier matches is mainly done, not for cosmetic reasons, but it was done to score points. Pele has got dangerous strikes.
Nice foot stomp there by Pat Miletich on Pele.
Wait, what? Excuse me, I'm sorry, Stevie, go ahead.
That was a good thing. Where Pele, he can low kick a guy one time and then the welt will form. And that's the end of round 1. A very, very interesting and technical match. Looks like John is warning him about something. Pat's in his corner, on his knees. Pat looks a little bit flustered or something. Something's wrong with Pat Miletich.
You can't fight, you're done. You done? Pat, you fight another day, brother.
Oh, this is terrible. Pat is limping around. It looks like he can't continue. Something's wrong. This is terrible.
He does have a minute to recoup here. It'd be interesting to see what happens.
Pele looks unscathed. Oh, the fight is over. The fight is over. Pele goes out and shows the respect. There's no hard feelings. He's back. Oh, what a terrible disappointment for Pat Miletich. Pele Landi had a lot of good strikes in the first round and may have squeaked out the first round, but there was a whole fight ahead of us. But Pat's back went out. Our heart goes out to Pat Miletich.
Wow, a disappointing end to a much anticipated fight. I'm sure we'll have a rematch or a matchup of this in the future. What an unfortunate event for Pat Miletich.
Well, now I guess we can say that Matt Hughes, in his pre-fight interview, thought that Pele was hugely overrated. I wonder if Matt would like to step in.
I think Matt's game for a challenge, to say the least, as we see Jamie LaVerne hand the World Extreme Fighting Super Fight Championship belt to Jose Pele Landi.
Pele adds this to his collection. Pele is the winner of 3 8-man no-holds-barred tournaments. He is the current International Vale Tudo champion, and he adds the World Extreme Fighting Super Fight belt to his collection. A great warrior, a great champion. He goes to 40 wins and 3 losses. That's a record.
That's an impressive record, Stephen.
There he is with his trainer, Ujamar Federico, and Jamie LaVerne in the ring. A tremendous warrior. He was ready. He was ready for this fight. He was psyched. He was ready to go in the future. I see a lot of matchups for Pele. Mr. Sakurai. Okay. It may be this throw, because Pele does a pretty wicked. Yeah, he landed a little bit on his tailbone.
A little bit awkward on the hip and tailbone there, Stephen. You're right.
So you have to give Pele the verdict in this. Yeah, right there on his back. It injured possibly Miletich's back in that move. Just Pele with a wild left hand, which was blocked, and then Miletich gets busy, but then Pele is going to throw those knees. Everybody knows it, and he jumps up with a jump knee. Didn't do a lot of damage, but sure looks good to an audience, and there's some serious Muay Thai. Now here's the vertical leap, and he jumps straight up and stomps straight down and lands, and then kicks Miletich in the face. Pele is an action fighter. Miletich wipes to see if he's cut, and let's go to ringside for the post-fight interview with George Brazil and Pele.
Pele, how do you feel being the new World Extreme Fighting lightweight champion? Como é que você se sente sendo o novo campeão do World Extreme Fighting?
Na verdade, eu agradeço tudo ao meu pai, que antes de eu nascer ele queria um filho, ele teve 4 meninas, e ele era frustrado por não ter um menino para ser campeão. Agradeço a você, pai.
He would like to thank his dad because he had 4 girls and he wanted to have a man, and he was the 4th one, and he thanks his dad for that. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Obrigado, Brasil!
And it's been a great night of fighting. We've had some sensational fights. Jorge Pereiro wasn't one of our victors, but Matt Hughes was in that fight. It's been a spectacular evening. We'd like to thank everyone here from Rome, Georgia. We'd like to thank our crew. We'd like to thank Nate Hill, our production manager. We'd like to thank Jamie LaVerne. I would like to thank my partners, Wade Rome and Tim Stamper. My name is Stephen Quadros. I am the fight professor. We'd also like to thank Big John McCarthy for joining us. Everyone, thank you, and we will see you at the next World Extreme Fighting. Good night.